Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting the like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. It's the end of the week and I'm feeling a bit cheeky, so we're going to be going into the Today I Messed Up subreddit. This one does come with an update as well. It's from No Demand 8884. Who says, today I fucked up by accidentally buying a gold mine of vinyl records from a Grieving guy for basically nothing. So this is less of a I did something stupid and more of a I did something unknowingly shady and now I can't sleep. Some context, my dad, 64 male, went through a rough divorce about 5 years ago and lost a lot in the process. He's doing way better now and recently turned his lifelong passion for vinyl into a small online record store. I'm 28 female, and whenever I can, I help him out, like buying used records at thrift stores and flea markets, that kind of thing. Last week I spotted someone selling a box of used records on Facebook Marketplace. I knew what was inside of the box, but I didn't know how much it was actually worth, since I'm not an expert like my dad is, and shipped it straight to my dad's place because the guy seemed pretty solid. So yeah, about that. Turns out the box had almost the entire Beatles discography? Is that how you pronounce it? Queen, Michael Jackson, and apparently some pretty rare stuff my dad couldn't even fully price on the spot. The seller was a young guy whose father had just passed away and was cleaning out his things. He had no idea what he had, and neither did I honestly, but my dad sure did. And his first reaction was to ask me if I knew what was in there and took advantage of the guy. I didn't obviously, but that question had been living in my head rent-free since. I'm genuinely consider reaching back out to the seller and offering him more money. Not the full market value. My dad does need to make a profit and I definitely don't have the money for that, but something that feels fair and doesn't make me feel like I robbed a grieving man. I just don't want to be that person who capitalized on someone's loss. What would you do? And of course, OP did post an update. Now, I don't think OP did anything wrong here to begin with. You know, when you go to Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree, whatever online place you're purchasing from, you're not expected to be like an expert on behalf of the seller, right? The seller sets the price, you buy it if you want to. It's quite that simple. However, there is like an emotional side to this, if you like, when, you know, you discover it's a grieving son clearing out his dad's belongings. And, you know, this is why OP feels bad. OP has a conscience. OP, you know, has empathy for this guy, which is a wonderful thing. OP sounds like a good egg. And it sounds like the dad does too, because asking the question, did you know what you were buying, you know, tells me his conscience is kicking in at the same time too. And I think, like these people, I would feel the same and probably want to reach out just saying something like, hey, my dad looked through your records and it turns out there's some valuable stuff in there. And I'd feel better by sending you a bit extra, just something like that. If they do turn around and say they're happy with the price they got, then, you know, move on guilt-free kind of thing. And the first commenter says similar, saying, I don't think you acted wrong, and you're not obligated to give him more money, but it'd be a huge kindness to a man grieving his father, and definitely the honest move. Another commenter says, if you can afford it, rare are the times in life we can actually purchase karma. Another commenter says different, saying going against the crowd here. I say don't, leave it alone. Not to get one over on the bereaved, but because it could do more harm than good. You want to give them more money to make you feel better. For them, it could open up wounds. Right now, as far as they know, they sold a box of their parents' junk that they don't personally treasure or value. Maybe they were too overwhelmed to go through things properly. Going back to say, hey, actually, there was some good stuff in there, could open up all kinds of emotions. Such as, my parents saved these. I'm a bad kid for getting rid of something so valuable. Or, I wish I'd kept these. They must have meant a lot to my parents. If I'd kept them, I could play them and I'd feel close to them. Or, times are hard. What else did I get rid of that I could have sold for more money for the surviving family? And says you get the point. The transaction is over. Don't contact this person again. Pass on your good fortune some other way. The important thing is the dead father valued these vinyls, and now they will eventually make their way into the hands of people who will similarly enjoy them. I'm sure this would make his spirit happy. And that's enough. And honestly, I didn't even think about that. That's quite a thoughtful counterpoint, isn't it? But one more commenter says, you can't take advantage with information you didn't have. You didn't know the value. The guy said his own price. It was fair when it happened. Your dad's expertise just revealed it after. If you want to feel clean, wait until your dad sells the rare ones and send the seller a cut then. Solves the no cash now problem. And you stop wondering. The fact that you can't sleep over it is already proof you're not the person you're scared of being. So OP does come in with their update and says, first, I wanted to clear up something because I think a few people misunderstood my original post. A lot of comments seem to think I was considering asking my dad to give the records back or somehow taking back a gift. That's not really what was happening. My dad owns a small record store and I help him out whenever I can, so sometimes if I come across records that seem like a good deal, I'll buy them and send them to him. He doesn't pay me back and I don't get a percentage when he sells them. I'm basically just helping my dad out with his inventory, so no, I wasn't trying to take a gift back from my dad. He was completely aware of the situation and actually encouraged me to contact the seller, by the way, which is exactly what I did. I messaged the guy and basically told him that after my dad looked through everything, there are a few records in that box that seemed to be worth more than either of us originally thought. The difference wasn't life-changing or anything, but it was enough that I felt weird about it and wanted to make sure he knew. I told him that I wanted to give him the chance to look into it and we could figure something out if he felt that was fair. He was honestly pretty surprised that I even reached out. Apparently his father had been sick for years and had Alzheimer's, and because of that, the records hadn't really been touched or cared for in a long time. He said the box I bought had basically been sitting around collecting dust for years and he genuinely wasn't sure what condition the records were in, which is part of why he priced them the way he did. He did know what records were in the box though. He just didn't know whether they still had much value because they had been sitting untouched for so long. Then he told me that apparently he has another box of records that he always assumed was the more valuable collection because they're in much better condition. He'd been trying to sell those too, but was having a hard time figuring out pricing and cataloging everything. At that point he asked if he could get my dad's contact information, so I gave him my dad's number, gave my dad the heads up, and they've been talking ever since. Funny enough, my dad literally texted me today and told me that this guy apparently went to school with my uncle, my dad's brother, who passed away over 10 years ago. So that was a nice surprise. As for the records, they worked out an arrangement themselves. The seller didn't want to sell the second collection outright because he wasn't sure what everything was worth, and my dad obviously didn't want to undervalue anything. So they agreed that my dad would help sell the records individually through the store. My dad will keep 60% and the seller will receive 40% of whatever sells. The seller said he'd rather do that than let the collection sit around indefinitely. And he also told my dad something that honestly made me feel really good about reaching out. He said that if the records were going to leave the family anyway, he thinks his father would have preferred them ending up with someone who genuinely understands and loves records. It turned into a really nice conversation. My dad may have made a new friend, and somehow we discovered that this guy knew my uncle years ago. Also, for some of the people in the comments who were absolutely convinced this man was going to sue me or accuse me of fraud, demand everything back or launch some kind of legal crusade over a box of dusty records, I don't really know what to tell you. Sometimes people are just decent. Anyway, thank you to everyone who encouraged me to reach out. I'm really glad I did. Oh, and that turned into an absolutely wonderful ending, and I'm so glad it did work out in that direction. I don't think that, the comment who said not to reach out was entirely wrong. It could have gone that way, couldn't it? But I'm so glad it did go this way, and that dad potentially got to meet a new friend, and everything sounds pretty fair as things go. But what do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. This next story, it comes from Beneficial String 411, who says, "Today I fucked up by telling my barber I knew what 2 on the sides meant for 23 years. Obligatory, this didn't happen today. It's been happening since 2003, and I just had a quiet panic about it on the bus. I'm 42. When I was 19, I walked into a barber shop for the first time as an adult, meaning my mum wasn't waiting in the car, and the guy asked me what I wanted, and I had not prepared for this. In my head, I had assumed haircuts worked like ordering coffee when you say a word and the professional handles the rest. Turns out, you have to know words, numbers even. Hair has a grading system. So the guy says, "What are we doing today, man?" And I, a confident adult, said, just a 2 on the sides. I have no idea where I got 2. I think I heard it in a movie. I think the movie was Varsity Blues. I don't know. He nodded, he cut. I tipped 15% because I'd read somewhere that's what adults do. I walked out and I looked fine. I assumed that I had cracked the code. For the next 23 years in 5 different cities with maybe 14 different barbers, when asked what I wanted, I've said with the calm authority of a man who has read a manual, 2 on the sides, scissors on top. I added scissors on top around year 4 because I heard another guy say it, and it sounded sophisticated. Like ordering wine. I did not know what either of these things meant. I assumed 2 was a length, maybe inches, centimeters, a vibe. I never asked. You can't ask. Asking would reveal that you have walked into approximately 100 haircuts under false pretenses, and that the man you became, taxes, mortgage, opinions about mattresses, was constructed on top of a single, unverified guess. Today, my current barber, who I've been seeing for 3 years, said, "Do you want to try a 1.5 today? Switch it up." And reader, I panicked because if a 1.5 exists, that means there's a scale. That means 2 is not a vibe. That means somewhere in the cosmos there is a 0 and a 3 and presumably a 7. And I've been LARPing as a man with hair opinions since the Bush administration. The first one. Wait, no, the second one. That's worse somehow. I said, yeah, let's do it, like a coward. I have no idea if I look different. He's behind me. I can't tell. I just nodded at the mirror like he showed me a piece of modern art. I tipped 20% out of guilt. TLDR, picked a random number at 19 to seem like an adult who gets haircuts. I've been repeating that number to professionals for 23 years across multiple cities without knowing what it means. Today at 42, learned there are other numbers. My whole adult identity may have been a 2. So the top commenter says the number represents the setting on the clippers. Smaller number is shorter hair. Opie replied saying, okay, so I just looked this up after reading your comment, and apparently I've spent 23 years asking for what is mathematically like a 6mm haircut. That is a real number that means a real thing. I feel like I just found out my name has been spelled wrong on every legal document. Thank you. I think. Now, I spotted this story immediately as I got back from a haircut and I started recording again. I'm a skin fade kind of guy. Kind of lengthy on top, probably like you see in my avatar. But as I was sitting there in the barbers today, just getting my haircut, as you do, stare into the mirror, into your own soul for a bit. And the guy sat next to me in the chair next to me, and the guy asked him what he wanted. He wanted the 2 on the side, funny enough. But then he asked how long on the top, and the guy just says, you know, not too long, not too short. And I feel sorry for barbers or hairdressers in general when we come out with these vague terms like they actually mean something. I mean, what does that mean? Not too long, not too short. It must be such like a minefield for barbers and hairdressers, right? Another commenter said to OP, as a barber, this is hilarious. I have men in their 70s who have no idea what to tell me when they want a cut. Usually I can figure out what they want done if I know how long it has been since their last cut. But at least you knew to tell them a number 2. For anyone who is curious, the numbers do vary. If you're using a clipper with removable guards, the shortest guard is a 0.5, which leaves 1/16 inch. The largest is an 8, which leaves 1 inch. The lower the number, the shorter the hair. But what about you guys when you go to the hairdressers or barbers? Does it throw you, or are you confident when you walk in? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another one. Now this story comes from Rese, who says, today I fucked up by accidentally stealing a car. Interesting. So this happened yesterday and I still feel like an idiot. I got off work around 7 and stopped at a grocery store on the way home. I was tired, had earbuds in, completely distracted. I bought my stuff, walked out into the parking lot, found my car, got in, and noticed there was a water bottle in the cup holder that wasn't mine. My first thought was literally, when did I get that? Then I noticed a jacket in the back seat. Still somehow didn't fully register what was happening because I drive an older silver Honda Civic. There are a million identical ones around here. Inside looked close enough that my brain just accepted it. The stupidest part is my key actually turned in the ignition. I sat there for a second trying to remember if one of my friends left the jacket there or something. Then looked at the dashboard and realized the mileage was completely off. That finally made me realize I was sitting in someone else's car. I shut it off and got out right as the guy came speed walking across the parking lot, carrying grocery bags and staring at me like he just caught me stealing it. I immediately started blurting out, "I swear this is not what it looks like," which probably made it look way worse. Turns out his car was parked one row over from mine. Same model, same color, and apparently old Hondas have barely any key variety because my key unlocked the door and started the car. We actually tested it again because neither of us believed it. The guy started laughing after a minute and said he saw me from inside the store sitting in his car, touching buttons. Some woman nearby had already called security too, so I got to explain that I accidentally stole a car while holding frozen pizzas. Security looked at me like I was making the worst excuse ever made, especially after I admitted I was trying to connect my phone to the Bluetooth because I thought it was my car. I found my actual car afterwards and just sat there for a minute wondering how I made it this far in life. A commenter mentions that apparently these cars are notorious for this and there's only so many key combinations there, so there's potential that your key could fit another. I find that mad. There's loads of people in the comments saying this happened to them as well. The only thing barely similar I can remember happened to me was when I was in, I don't know what car park it was, some shopping center, and there was a car similar to mine parked a little bit away. And I saw the woman walking up in the wing mirror. I knew immediately what she was going to do. And she opened the door and we were just staring at each other. I went, "Hi." That was it. And she went, "Oh, sorry." And just walked off. But what about you guys? Let us know your thoughts, and let's have another one which comes from Vice75, who says, "Today I fucked up by accusing a car dealership of selling me a broken vehicle, only to realize I was defeated by a single button. This happened back when I bought my very first car. For context, I'm the type of person who gets curious about every single button in a new gadget. So a few days after getting the car, I was messing around with the rear seats and noticed a little toggle switch on the rear left passenger door. It said, 'Child Safety Lock.' Out of pure curiosity, I flipped it. Nothing. Nothing immediately happened that I could notice, so I completely forgot about it within 5 seconds. Fast forward a few days later, I was driving around with a group of friends. We arrived at our destination, parked, and everyone prepared to get out, except for my friend in the back left seat. He pulled the handle, pushed the door, but nothing happened. Every other door opened perfectly fine, but that specific one was completely dead from the inside. My friends, being the supportive people they are, immediately started roasting me. 'Bro, it's a brand new car and it's already broken,' or 'Man, you got scammed by the dealership.' The teasing combined with the frustration of having a broken new car made my anxiety skyrocket. I was genuinely convinced I got a defective unit. The next morning, fueled by pure annoyance and a slight hit to my pride, I drove straight back to the dealership. I marched up to the salesman and complained quite firmly that they had sold me a car with a broken rear door. They quickly called a mechanic over to inspect the vehicle. The guy opened the door from the outside, tinkered with it for literally 3 seconds, looked up at me with a knowing, polite little smile and said, "Sir, Sir, it looks like someone accidentally flipped the child safety lock." Time stopped. The dealership grew dead silent. My brain completely lagged as the memory of me flipping that exact switch a few days ago flashed before my eyes. I stood there for a solid 5 seconds, looking at his holding back a laugh smile. Slowly turned around and mentally slapped my forehead into oblivion. I just confidently accused a professional establishment of selling a broken car, only to be defeated by my own curiosity. To this day, my friends still bring this up just to laugh at me. My car works perfectly fine, but my dignity at that dealership is forever gone. A commenter below this said, "Many years ago, I used to work in desktop PC support for a small department. One day I got a call from a remote office, only 5 miles away, but still. Their modem was not working and they had to transmit that week's report ASAP. So I drive over there, sit down and check out the situation. It was an external modem. Yeah, it was a long time ago, and so the first thing I do is try cycling power. Of course, the switch was already off, so I simply flicked it on and the modem roared to life. The look of amazement and embarrassment on the highly paid office manager when I did that was priceless. It was second only to the time that same manager complained that her mouse was really difficult to use. She was totally flabbergasted when I flipped the mouse to its correct orientation and moved it across the desk rather than manipulating the mouse board directly. Oh, as she has been doing. Deary bloody me. So she was using it like a trackball mouse, but it was obviously one of those tiny little balls in there. Oh my word. What do you guys make of this one? Let us know and let's have another one. Now, our next one comes from Name, who says, "Today I fucked up by mocking my neighbor's parrot for the last couple of weeks. So I live in an apartment where the walls are thin enough that I can hear my neighbor's TV, phone calls, and unfortunately their parrot. This parrot, a very beautiful animal, but makes me want to rip my hair out and do things I'm not proud to admit. Let's just say he's become my morning alarm for the last few months. About 2 weeks ago, I started mocking his sounds back. He'd squawk, I'd squawk. He'd whistle, I'd whistle back. We built up a little routine, kind of like distant, angry roommates communicating through bird calls. Sometimes I would even initiate it, like when I was cooking. I'd randomly have a Tourette-like outburst and start squawking loudly. I know this is strange, lol. Yesterday, my neighbor knocked on my door and had a really odd look on her face. Apparently, ever since I started doing my bird banter, her parrot has become obsessed with me. I guess I just wasn't in the mood for bird talk the last couple of days and went silent. She said he paces and screeches when I stop responding. She even showed me a video. It was such an awkward experience. She said he used to have a parrot friend years ago that died, and she thinks it wants some sort of bird companion. Anyway, she asked me to make a couple of bird sounds as she put a treat in its cage to see if it would eat. I reluctantly agreed and felt humiliated, of course, but I went through with it, and sure enough, the little fucker started eating and playing. Long story short, I became the object of a parrot's affection, and my neighbor asked if I could talk to him for a few minutes a day, even get me preferred times if I'm home. I've unintentionally entered a long-distance relationship with a bird. For a minute there, my brain went full on Reddit and thought the neighbor was going to kidnap OP and put them in the cage. There was also another part of me thinking about the neighbor on the, if there is one, the other side of OP. Are they hearing this parrot talk? Are they hearing OP squawking? Are they going to start squawking back? And eventually the whole bloody complex is all going to be squawking at each other. Made me feel sad for the bird though at the same time. But our next story is coming from Motor Presentation 76, who says, today I fucked up forgetting that elevators aren't private. For the last 2 fucking years, I've been going into office 3 days a week. Each of those days started with me stepping into an elevator to the 14th floor and ended with me coming off the elevator at the 1st floor. In between, there are countless times where I'd use the elevator for lunch or whatever occasion I need to step out for. Without fail, every time I have been in this elevator alone, I do some goofy shit because it's my own personal space. Sometimes I dance to whatever song is playing in my earbuds. If it's Lil Wayne, I'll do throwing money gestures. If it's Benson Boone, I'll do an air guitar and sing out loud. Imagine the high notes of please and beautiful things. 2 years I've been doing goofy shit like this, including throwing it back and catching myself doing it and laughing out loud saying, bruh, I'm actually stupid as fuck. Today I walked towards the elevators like usual and found myself alone in it once again. So I looked at the elevator's mirror and started posing like I'm in a bodybuilding contest. Started yelling out, look at you. Yeah, big man on the scene. Pose switch. The muscle. The definition. The elevator doors opened, so I gave myself the finger guns in the mirror as I regained my composure before I conducted myself professionally as I walked into the office. I know you're already judging. I would never do this in public, but genuinely speaking, these little moments brighten up my day sometimes because I get to act a fool. I live my day-to-day life pretty restrained, and this is one way for me to ease up the tension a bit. Outside of that elevator, I swear to God you would never expect this from me. I'm so stuck up at work and know the corporate lingo to a fault. I'm the guy who talks about action items, meeting agendas, and product life cycles. I greet everyone with a good morning and have a wonderful night, including security. Well, today as I left the office a bit earlier than usual, the security clerk spotted me walking towards the exit from a distance. I shit you not, he yelled out word for word, "Brah, big man on campus." The way my face flushed. I said, "Pardon me?" He said, "Oh, sorry, I was talking to my colleague." "Oh, have a good night," and gives me the finger guns. Bruh, they can fire my ass, I don't give a fuck. I'm never working from office again until he retires at least. You know, security absolutely loved that. Don't stop. Well, I know you're going to stop doing it because you know they're watching you now, but I encourage you to just keep being yourself. I do weird shit like this too when I'm just walking around, you know, mirrored elevators. I'm aware there's cameras in those places, but you know, sometimes they got like the camera in the corner, haven't they? And you just quickly look up at the camera and look away again. Just trip them out. Or when you're walking in the supermarket and you see yourself on the little security camera screen, do a quick little booty drop or something, you know? My favorite used to be, I haven't done this in a long time, but like when you're driving opposite directions to someone and you catch eyes with someone and quickly pull a face at them, just stick your tongue out or something like that. You can immediately see them go like, what the fuck? Oh, it does tickle me. But what do you guys make of today's collection of stories? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. What are your weird little habits? Let us know your thoughts. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Yeah, man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool when you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in despair, crime everywhere. You're selling false hope cause you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. You just don't. Still selling false hope cause you just don't care. House, field, if we talking to a uniform, who the real? You know we in the deep south, so let's keep it real. This is what they used to mob, lynch, drag, and kill. I never made the party cause I felt the paper